Hello there, my name's Alan Henry with henrysellshouses.com, and I'd like to discuss why it's a good idea to be a savvy seller using seller financing. If you use seller financing to sell your property for top dollar, you can and will receive income for life. Let me tell you a story first. Beverly, a 72-year-old mother of two and grandmother of three, was recently widowed from her husband Tom. They had been married for 45 years. They had enjoyed a good life together and raised a beautiful family, and they were enjoying retirement traveling and spending time with their grandkids. Tom was an engineer, and Beverly was a high school math teacher. They were middle class and lived a modest lifestyle. And outside of a few ups and downs, they were financially stable. Over the years, they bought a handful of rental properties. Tom took on most of the landlord responsibilities, fixing toilets when they broke, changing carpets when they wore out, and keeping track of the rent. He was diligent about paying down the mortgages, and out of the 4 properties they owned, 2 were paid off, and only small balances were owed on the other 2. When Tom suddenly passed away from a stroke, Beverly became overseer of the properties. She was familiar with the systems and the properties and what they were, for the most part, easy enough to manage. She had a reliable handyman, and she needed from time to time, and all the tenants were long-term. Things changed when her daughter, son-in-law, and 3 kids were transferred from Portland to Tucson for work. Beverly wanted to spend more time with her grandkids and didn't want the responsibility of managing the properties. It was time to sell. A few years ago, and a few years before, Jill and Sean Clark, a young couple in Portland, had contacted Tom and Beverly, hoping to buy one of their properties. At the time, they were not interested in selling, and she courteously declined. Because Tom kept meticulous records, Beverly was able to find the Clark's phone number and get in touch with them. As luck would have it, they were still interested in the property. Beverly figured out that if she could sell the property to them, she would save herself the realtor commission and have the money to do some light touch-up work on the other 3 properties before putting them on the market. Beverly and the Clarks were able to decide on a price for the property, and they wrote up a sales agreement. Beverly got in contact with her accountant because she knew that she would have to pay taxes on the sale. But she was shocked when she found out how much the tax bill would be. She asked if there was any way she could reduce the bill. The accountant gave her 2 options. 1, she could do what the IRS considered an exchange of property, but she would have to use the proceeds from the sale to buy a new property. She could participate in the financing for the buyers and seller finance it to them. Both options would defer the tax obligation. Beverly shuddered at the thought of selling one property only to have to buy another one. To her, that did not reduce her responsibility. She decided to propose the second option to the Clarks, and they were amenable. The couple was going to finance the purchase no matter what. They decided that the Clarks would give Beverly a small down payment and pay her on a monthly basis for the next 15 years with interest included. Beverly was happy with the arrangement. She had grown fond of the Clarks and was reminded her and Tom in their early years of marriage. She was even more excited that she had avoided a large tax bill and would receive a nice monthly income from the sale. It was like landlording, but only the good part of collecting the monies. She wouldn't have to deal with the maintenance, tax bills, tenant turnover, or broken appliances. Being a math teacher for many years, she knew how to analyze what she was getting in monthly payments and realized that a significant portion of income was profit from the interest. She calculated that she would not only receive all of the $300,000 that she had financed to the Clarks, but also an additional $151,432 on top of that. 50% more than she would have received had she sold the property conventionally. Beverly knew a good thing when she saw it, and this was a great thing. She went back to the Clarks and asked if they were interested in buying her other 3 properties. Eager at the opportunity, the Clarks found the money to pay off the small debts Beverly still owed on the properties. After she sold and the new owners took ownership, they rented out the properties and sent payments to Beverly each month. Today, Beverly is able to travel more frequently and spend time visiting her grandkids in Arizona. She no longer worries about severe weather impacting the properties or receiving voicemail messages from tenants who have locked themselves out. She receives a monthly income that far exceeds her living expenses and is able to save each month. She is elated that her choices will result in $500,000 of profit from financing the properties to the buyers. Furthermore, she and the Clarks also worked it out that if anything happened to her, the monthly income stream would go into a savings account for her grandkids to use for college. Beverly was able to change her life by thinking outside the box. When it came to selling her properties, if you have a property to sell and like the idea of creating a hassle-free income stream for life, contact me. I promise we can make choices that will impact and change your life.